Greetings, everyone. Did you know that you have a gift to give to this world? And your gift is unique to you. Okay, everyone's got their own gift. Maybe you have a gift of cooking. Maybe you can sing. Maybe you can make furniture, custom design furniture. I don't know. That's your job to find out. Okay. Um, Sometimes we see people on TV, we see celebrities, and we try to mimic what they're doing. We just regurgitate what we're already seeing. And that's dangerous because you're not honoring the divinity. You're not tapping into the godlike force that's inside of you, your own godlike force. Even with me broadcasting, I've seen people, and we're always energy. We're all energy, and we're always feeding off of each other's energy. Okay, and I think the highest form of a compliment is, and it's very flattering when I see someone, do exactly what I'm doing. And I know that people have been watching me, and my secret admirers. And when I say secret admirers, I mean people that have been watching, different things I'm broadcasting, have gotten inspiration. For example, I was doing Thirst Trap Thursdays, and I took a break for a month or two. I was at Delta headquarters. I came back. All the girlies are doing Thirst Trap Thursdays. There's new unicorn character. I came from a position where I'm like, you know what? I love to see women winning. Women, especially women of color. I'm like rooting for everyone. Versus, I was seen as, okay, what is she doing? Let me, I can do it better. Let me just capitalize what she's doing and do it, at a heightened, which is fine because no matter whatever it is that you're copying, I have 1,000 other ideas on top of that. Like my ideas are unlimited. I used to wear for the people that have been watching me from my day ones, I used to wear this unicorn headband, and I was gonna do a whole unicorn theme. And I took a break. I was at Delta for a few months, and I came back, and someone had took the whole unicorn theme, and again, I didn't create the unicorn. That comes from, I didn't create all that. That comes from the heavens. And it's fine. So I said, you know what, I don't want to do the unicorn theme anymore. I really was gonna throw it away. And I said, you know what? But what about, and I used to like to say the catchphrase. I would drink something. Everybody would ask me, I'd be drinking something while I broadcast. They say, what are you drinking? And I'd say, I'm drinking unicorn juice. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. That's my new name. So I'll just rebrand and it's okay. So you just have to pivot sometimes. So I wanted to go over my own timeline. Everyone's on their own timeline. Everyone's on their own journey. And I've been in rooms where people have felt like, well, why are you in this room with us? Like, I hope, how did you get here? Or looking at me or prejudging me. I have people that look at me and feel like maybe I come from an affluent family. Maybe I have some rich silent partner somewhere in the background. I got a sugar daddy or something. And, none of it, for people, I have people here that have been watching me since I was 10. And that could have been farther, that's furthest from the truth, it's only been God that's got me through. So I wanted to just briefly go over my own timeline. Everyone's on their timeline. And I've been in places where people have wanted to immediately compare themselves to me. Or they see that I'm doing something and they want to do it as well. And that's fine. I'm glad that I can inspire so many people. And I hope that this video inspires something for you as well. And think about your own personal timeline. Okay? Maybe you should go over this and just reflect on your own life. And doing this exercise, maybe it'll be clear on what you're supposed to do next. Instead of concentrating so hard on what someone else is doing in their life, find out what's next for you and your family. So I was born in 1982, okay? Where were you in 1982? All right, I don't know, write it down. Did you even exist? Okay, I was born in 1982 in Chicago. My mom she had a well-to-do family. She was fine. She was raised in a proper house with, her mom and her dad, adopted mom and dad, but she wanted a fast-paced life, okay? My mom got in trouble, so she was running from the law. So we left Chicago and we went to California in 1989. So the kid in Chicago, our mom's partying, fast-paced life. We find ourselves on Skid Row. So I'm a kid. So 1990, 1991, I'm there during the riots. Okay, I'm there during the riots. I thought the world was ending during the Rodney King riots. I'm there. Thank God I wasn't a little bit older because California, Skid Row is a completely different place. I can really relate to people who were born in a third world country because out there, and it's not a black problem. It's not a white problem. It's not like everyone's there. There's Mexicans down there on Skid Row. There's, Indians. I don't care. There's Asian. There's all these people that are there. We're trying to figure out how to survive, and it's just like absolute madness and chaos in Skid Row. It's just really a crazy place for kids to be. But it's a bunch of kids there, and the kids are just doing whatever they could do to survive. I would panhandle, and I would bring the money back to my mom. And I found out that she wouldn't thinking that she's gonna get food. But she wouldn't. She would take it and get beers. And so I got smart and I was like, okay, I'm taking this money that I'm going to use to panhandle and I'm going to bring the food back. And so I'm bringing it back to my brothers and sisters. My mom had I've been raising kids forever. My mom had like 6 kids, and I was, the oldest. So I had one baby on this hip, another baby on this hip. My mom would disappear for weeks. I had to figure out what to do with all those kids. I had a different kind of lifestyle. We were raising, the streets raised us, okay? Mom and dad was gone. My dad was there chasing after my mom, trying to find out where she was. And then thank God I wasn't a little bit older, because I looked at the girls that were a little bit older, and, they were doing different things. Thank God, a lot has happened to me. I've had a lot of pain in my life, but God has saved me from so much. Like, it could have been worse. It could have been so much worse. And California is a crazy place. The richest place in America, California. And people will walk right past a kid that's panhandling. They won't ask any questions and say, well, why are you here on the streets or anything? No one cares. Like, no one literally cares that a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old on the street panhandling. No one cares. That's just what it is. And, there's wealthy people, there's millionaires there, and people. So that was 1993. And this is exactly why I don't get into politics, right? This is 1990, 1991, 1992, 1993. Skid Row still exists. This is 2024, and Skid Row still exists. So this place is still there, and there's kids there. So thousands of kids there. I haven't been here. I haven't been here since the 90s, but I do know that it still exists. So back in 1995, some supposed relatives had found out that they could potentially receive money from, housing each of us. I don't know, maybe it was back then like $700 each kid. So they sent for us to leave California. My mom and my dad went to prison. They got arrested. And we were in foster care in California. And my relatives, found out that they could potentially, supposed relatives, and that's another story. If you'd like to know more about my story, read my life story, I do have a link in my bio here. My life story, it is available on Amazon, Overcoming Hell in High Heels. So my family back in 1995 found out that they could get money from getting us, and so they came to California. Well, we were flown from California to the suburban area of Chicago. Now, California and Chicago, two completely different cultures. You dress different, you talk different, everything is different. So I'm coming here, I went to suburban Chicago, and, I'm a California girl, dressing, talking like a California girl was immediately ridiculed. And it was from people that have lived in, suburban Chicago all their life, so that's all they are used to, it's all they know, they talk a certain way, they walk a certain, the culture is just completely different from California and Chicago. It's just different, And so I was completely ridiculed, and so that was my life. In 1999, I had a baby. So shortly after that, I'm about 10 or 11 in 1995 when I first get to Chicago, and then when I turned about 16, I found out I was pregnant. Had my baby at 17, and while I was in high school, I was working full time at a department store. Okay, again, so full time. I was in high school and working full time. This is 1999. Okay, so when people look at you and they compare all the time, it's like, okay, what were you doing in 1999? Okay, were you at home with mom and dad? I was already working full time. Had a kid, and then shortly after that, I did get married to. I got married. We got married shortly after we had the baby. And I actually got married right at high school. In between my classes, there was a licensed security guard that was like a licensed minister. I went into a classroom. He said, sign here, swear. I swore, and transferred into a wife right in high school. I know, it's so crazy. Again, completely different walk of life. My husband at the time, well, before we had gotten married, we were, he's a high school kid, right? He's an 18-year-old high school boy, and so he's doing 18-year-old high school boy things, okay? Just talking to other girls. I had just had a baby, and he's already like talking to somebody else, or flirting and all this other stuff. Just things that he's only a kid, right? I don't blame him. Although when we tell the story, we look back, he still harbors a lot of like unnecessary energy or like finger pointing and blaming. But me, I look at it from a perspective of, okay, we were young. I'm gonna give him some grace. Okay, he doesn't give me any grace. There's no grace on his side of the family. They're like, but that's okay. I'm looking from a matured, healed side of it. I'm like, okay, he's 18, doing what 18-year-old boys do. So at that time, we were living together, and I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of coming to school, and girls are saying this about you, girls are saying that about you. I'm leaving. And I'm like, I have nowhere to go. I don't have any parents. And I actually went to a friend's house, and I slept on her couch. I slept on her couch with my baby, and they're like, Children's Family Services is like, hey, you have to have a stable place to stay, or we're going to come get the kid. And I'm like, well, I'm going to work on it. I'm working. I'm going to get a place. And they're like, no, we need a place now, or else, we have to take the baby. They're like, there's a facility you can come in. It's a homeless teen shelter. You can come there with your baby. But, at least you have a stable place to stay. We have to, take the kid under custody. And I'm like, you're not taking my kid. So we went into a homeless teen shelter. And that was an experience itself because there was so many teens there that And they promised us. They said, okay, you're only going to be here for a short amount of time. We're going to get you an apartment. You know, we're going to transition into assisted living. And it was so many teens there, and they treated us as if we were there because we had did something, instead of like we're here because I'm here because I don't have any parents. Like, you know, I'm here because, you know, I'm homeless, not because I've committed a crime. It wasn't a really good experience. And so as soon as I got there, as well as the girls were fighting each other, as soon as I got there, I noticed that. So I'm 17. There's a girl. She's like 21. And I'm like, how could she be? And so I asked her, I said, how long have you been here? And she said, oh, I've been here for a few years. And I said, oh, absolutely not. I said, oh no. I'm like, And so I asked them one more time. I said, are you, like, how long is it going to take to get the apartment? And they're like, well, there's paperwork, there's this, there's that. And I looked at that girl that was there at 21, and I was like, there is no way. So I left. I'm like, I left. I got my own place. I made up with the baby's father. We got married. And I moved to Texas. We got married. I moved to Texas. I sold cars there for 2 years. So one of my first jobs right out of high school was selling cars. I sold cars. I was the only person of color, girl of color on the car lot. Okay, so you got all these like men, and here I am. I didn't know any difference between like a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder, and they were so mad at the person that hired me. But you know, look at God. That's what God did. Because everyone was like, how did she get here? Right? It was just such a huge uproar. But I started to do so well, right? And I literally, like, I started to be like the top producer, and they were like, oh my God. And so then after that, after they saw that I was doing well, they started to find other women of color, and they hired like other Black girls. And so, yes, I appreciate my time at the car lot. I matured a lot. I learned so much. Just selling cars for 2 years. It was an experience. And I had to endure a lot just being a woman in that space, just being the first woman in that space. So that was from 2002 to 2004, okay? And I didn't have very much family. My parents were in prison. My mother-in-law was the closest thing to me. My mother-in-law was God sent. You know, someone like me, don't have very many people, didn't have family. She was very loving to me. She was like a mother figure to me. Sometimes when you don't get a mother figure, you're not born with one. God will send you someone. And she was the person that God sent me. She was just, and that she was literally an earth angel. You know, she helped so many people in the community. She was just, all my life I felt like I didn't have anyone, and I finally felt like I had someone in my corner. And so selling cars, doing well, you know, and she called me, she's back in Illinois. She called me and she said, you know, I haven't seen my grandkids in 2 years, and she kind of put a guilt trip on me for leaving and not being there, and telling me I should come back. And for 2 years, I'm like, there is no way I'm coming back to Illinois. But she called me one day. I was, you know, had a rough day with the kids and dropping them off at daycare, and she's like, you're paying all this money to daycare, and I'm right here. I can take care of kids. But anyway, so I moved back to Illinois. She convinced me. I said, okay, I'm coming back. I moved back to Illinois, and and I'm glad that I did. She had cancer. And she had cancer. They told me when I got there that she had a month to live, but I took care of her, and she survived for a year after that. I took care of her for the first 6 months. I would give her meals, clean, give her massages, and I did the best that I could. Looking back, I wish I would have spent more time, but it was like taking 6 months off, not working, not doing anything, and living there with her. I'm like, I need my own place. You know, we can't just sit up in here. But the beautiful thing about that is that, so I took care of her for 6 months, and she convinced me, and my mom had just gotten out of prison. She convinced me, she said, I love you like a daughter. She said, but, you know, you have a mom, forgive your mom, talk to your mom. And so I started talking to my mom, and when I couldn't take care of her anymore, my mom took care of her for the rest of the 6 months until the end of her life. Okay? So, I decided to leave my marriage. At that time, I had three kids. I was 3 kids. So single mom with 3 kids. Was working at a mortgage company, as well as, and the mortgage company was commission only at the time. And so I worked part-time, I worked at Olive Garden. And the guy that I was dating, who I had just had a baby with, and that's a whole other story as well. At the time I was divorced with 2 kids. I met someone. He's a cancer survivor. He literally only has 1, testicle. The doctor said he could never have kids. And I'm like, hey, there's no problem. I'm like, perfect. I have 2 kids. I'm gonna have a boy and a girl. Like, I don't, it wasn't a big deal. And so we dated, we moved in together, and lo and behold, I, had my 3rd kid. And, but he didn't want anything serious. I was doing mortgages, and we were in an apartment, and I said, how am I doing someone's mortgage and I don't own a home? I said, that's not right. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, I have to become a homeowner. I'm like, I'm looking at the amount we're spending in rent, and I'm like, a mortgage is half that. And so I'm bringing this to him, and he's like, not even thinking, this is someone that has only lived in Chicago all his life, and just knows, none of his family, he's like, I don't need to own a home. My mom has to own a home. And it's like, you know what? Okay, like either, like, this is what I'm doing, come with me or not. And so I left Illinois, and I moved to Indianapolis, Indiana. So in 2008, okay, again, what were you doing in 2008? So in 2008, I was 25 years old, I bought my first house. It was a dream come true. growing up in a homeless teen shelters, being a foster kid, all my only goal in life. I didn't have any dreams about like I know some young girls thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get married one day, I'm gonna wear this dress, and like I never had any of those kind of dreams. My dreams was like owning a home, and so I felt like I did that, and I was just like, So I bought a home at 25. I raised my kids there for 11 years. It was a very beautiful home. Had a pond in the back. We go out fishing sometimes. Very, very beautiful home. 4 bedrooms, upstairs, downstairs. It was beautiful. And I would go back home. I would go back home to suburban Illinois, and so all this time has passed, and so I'm owning this home. I'm there in my own house, and I've noticed that people that are used to seeing me, being a foster kid, seeing me in homeless teen shelters, that's the story that they had in their head. So and I owned that home for 11 years. No one ever came out to visit me. So in 11 years, then I would go back, and people would still talk to me like I'm still that same little girl that was in the homeless teen shelter, and it's like I my life has grown since we used to be friends. Like just like your life has grown. You're not the same person as you were when you're 18, so nor am I. But that's neither here nor there. People weren't there for my growth. People just want to only be about that story of, oh, she didn't have any parents. Oh, she's in a homeless teen shelter. So I sold the house. I sold the house in Indianapolis, Indiana. Before I sold the house, I did buy my mom a house in Indianapolis, Indiana as well. But I sold a house in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I bought a house here in Florida in 2017. And in 2019, I graduated from Jacksonville University with an executive MBA. So I'm saying all this to say, and the point of this video is just to say, when you meet someone, you don't know their story. You don't know what they have to go through to get to where they are right now. And you shouldn't just immediately look at someone and think anything. Like I meet someone, I'm just like, oh, I'm just getting to know you. I'm going to learn about you. But for whatever reason, people see me and they have all these things that they just think, and they want to make me their competition. And I'm like, I'm not even like, I'm not looking at you like that. Like I'm not thinking about making anyone my competition. I'm just here doing what I'm supposed to do while I'm here, while I have time to do it. Okay, so just make sure you radiate in peace, love, and light, and go over your own timeline. Focus on what your own strengths and weaknesses are, and and one last thing, right? So growing up in elementary school, we had to wear uniforms. Okay, we wear school uniforms. I'm grown now. I'm not going to wear a uniform, which means I'm not going to look like everybody else. I don't care to look like everyone else. So if someone says, oh, like, why do you wear that hat, or why do you have this, or why are you doing that? Because I can, because I want to, because I don't want to look like everyone. Like, no, you're supposed to do this, and it just seems to irritate so many people's souls that whatever it is that I'm doing, they're like, well, why do you have this on? This doesn't look right. And it's like, well, okay, well, you don't have it on. I have it on. Okay, so I'm going to continue to be me, and I hope that people continue to be themselves. And no matter what you do, you'll always have naysayers. And that's just a part of life. If you sit there and do nothing, they'll talk about you sitting there not doing nothing. If you do something, that will be criticized as well. So keep living, keep learning, keep loving, and we just gotta move forward. Peace, love, and blessings.